This home, deep in the hills of McDonald County, Missouri, has sat unoccupied for years. It's been even longer since retired Missouri Highway Patrol Officer Miles Parks has stepped inside.
They've been here in 20 years.
Parks was a homicide investigator when he was last here in 1992.
One of these panes was shot out.
That's when he first pieced together the evidence
Tim was laying in this area.
of the horrific events in this room.
The bullet embedded itself in the wall here.
A man had been shot through the window, and Parks believes a teenager who was inside the home planned the whole thing.
And he had to be pretty much in this position in order for them to get a clear shot through the window and through the door.
Yes,
And you think he was positioned here intentionally by Sheena?
I do. This was a brutal, cold-blooded, premeditated murder.
The evidence pointed to three suspects: the shooters, 18-year-old Matt Myers and 19-year-old Terry Banks, and Banks' lover, Sheena Eastburn, the teenage ex-wife of the murder victim. Sheena had been just 15 when she married Tim Eastburn and just 16 when they divorced. Sheena was barely 17 on that November night in 1992 when her ex-husband was shot to death. In sworn testimony, the two gunmen and another witness maintained that Sheena plotted the murder. Sheena claimed otherwise. More than 20 years later, Sheena Eastburn lives here in the Chillicothe, Missouri prison and still maintains she was never a killer.
There was no reason for Tim to die. No. I was supposed to get down there, get him out of the house, and then they were going to rob him for drugs and money.
You agreed only to a robbery,
Only to a robbery.
never to a murder.
No.
She says she and her ex-husband had maintained a sexual relationship even after Sheena began seeing Banks. Sheena claims that as Banks and Myers watched through the back porch window, Tim kissed her. Then without warning, there came a shot.
And when we both dropped, I crawled around to where he was.
Sheena believes jealousy drove Terry to pull the trigger. The bullet had pierced Tim's upper body, and as he drifted into unconsciousness, Tim prayed.
And I tried to stop the bleeding. There was nothing I could do.
Jurors didn't buy it. Sheena was convicted of first-degree murder. The prosecution didn't seek the death penalty, leaving only one possible penalty: life without parole.
I still thought I might get out one day. I did not realize that life without parole actually meant life without parole.
I would say her level of culpability is among the lowest I've ever seen, and I've been doing this type of work for nearly 30 years.
Sheena's attorney, Kent Gibson, believes his client now has a real shot at freedom. In an Alabama case last year, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that life without parole is unconstitutionally cruel for crimes committed before age 18. Gibson believes the courts will decide that ruling must be applied retroactively for people like Sheena serving time for murders committed as juveniles. An issue before the Missouri Supreme Court is how Sheena should be resentenced.
I think inevitably she's going to be given a parolable sentence and will get a chance to get out of prison.
You can't let yourself in prison with the kind of sentence I have get your hopes so high and then be devastated all the time. It's just a hard way to live. This is what we see.
Not a lot to see out there.
Nothing to see.
A 37-year-old woman who spent more than half her life on the inside looking out has never held a cell phone or even been on the internet. But she misses simpler pleasures.
Open the refrigerator in the middle of the night, getting what you want out of drink.
Sheena Eastburn was old enough to have a driver's license,
Walking barefoot on grass.
old enough to get married,
Somewhere it doesn't say out of bounds.
and old enough to know the difference between right and wrong.
Just taking time to breathe free, fresh air.
What do you think is the appropriate punishment?
So you think she should never get out?
That's right.
I know it smells different on the other side. I really believed I was going to get second-degree murder. And I was accountable for that. I was okay with that.
So when you hear guilty first-degree murder, what's going through your head?
That my mother, that's all I could hear my mother in the courtroom.
Was she crying?
She was wailing.
I couldn't control it. And that's your child and your only child. And your hands are tied.
When Alicia Blevins heard the verdict in her daughter's murder trial, she knew the only possible sentence was life without parole.
You can't accept it. I never accepted it for a long time.
Have you accepted it yet?
No.
This is the bed that she had as a child?
Yes.
Alicia has prepared her daughter's bedroom with familiar keepsakes. The wall color is symbolic of a yellow ribbon.
So are you hoping that she's going to come back here someday?
For a visit, yes. And this is Sheena's when she graduated with her diploma at prison.
This is my dog, Dottie. This is actually our cell.
Sheena has a full-time prison job as an obedience trainer of rescue dogs. She's also a certified aerobics instructor, works with disabled inmates, and teaches victim impact classes.
And she's obviously not the same person she was when she was 17 years old. I don't think any of us are.
Sheena's attorney, Kent Gibson, argues his client should get a chance at freedom. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that a sentence of life without parole is unconstitutionally cruel for crimes committed before age 18. Now the Missouri Supreme Court must decide whether the ruling should be applied retroactively to old cases, and if so, how Sheena should be resentenced.
Maturity and education and things like that should be taken into account, and that's all we're really asking, is she be given an opportunity to prove to the parole board and the other people that she deserves a second chance.
Unlike for me, I can appeal the decisions and do things Tim cannot. His family can't appeal it.
My brother is still in the grave, and he will be from here on out.
And so what does that mean for Sheena?
She should be locked up the same way.
Forever.
Forever.
Tim's brothers, Leonard and Tommy, still operate the family feed mill where Tim worked until the day he died. They've followed Sheena's case closely enough to believe she will eventually get a parole hearing and ultimately freedom. But if given the chance, the brothers will tell the parole board how they feel.
Because she's evil.
Why else would she want to kill somebody?
There's people in this world that are evil, and they will hurt you. There's no rhyme or reason for it. They just will.
I would tell them how sorry I am. I've never got to say that to them. And I know that no matter what, I can never take their pain away.
Never been the same since that day. Life. And never will be the same.
Dad was never the same. Never the same. Mom was never the same.
How about you and your brothers?
I think about it continually. Still think about it.
And I don't ever expect them to forgive me because I don't know if I could either. But I hope that one day they find peace. And I know if they ever wanted to talk to me about what happened, that's okay.
I'm truly sorry for their loss. But we all lost that day. We all lost.